what is a Barefoot Doctor and why Barefoot Doctor?
A Barefoot Doctor, for a start, is somebody who's generally very cheerful and who inspires those around them to be cheerful too. This is one of the most important functions of a Barefoot Doctor. Barefoot Doctors originated in ancient China and throughout the Orient. Were mostly women and were a little like the Chinese version of a shaman or a medicine man. They were humble people, hence barefoot, and that's what barefoot is, the metaphor means, the humble healer. And they were expert in administering acupuncture and herbs and folk medicine and doing magic spells for health and abundance and fertility and sort of thing. They used to entertain people with songs and stories. They played them the lute, do all this sort of thing. And they spent their time wandering through the rural areas. They didn't ask for money, people just used to look after them. In other words, they weren't doing it for the ego trip, and they weren't in the big cities looking for fame and fortune. They genuinely dedicated themselves to serving the human race.
So, how did you become a Barefoot Doctor?
Really just by not wearing shoes when I work, but I'm trained initially, well, I'm 55, yeah, I'm 55 now. I've been doing martial arts since I was 11, which is 44 years. And by the time I was in my teens, I also studied yoga quite intensively for quite a long time. Through yoga met R.D. Lang, who's a psychiatrist. Studied psychotherapy for 3 years, very hands-on, working with mentally ill people. Went from that to living with the Native Americans in New Mexico, where I learned the ways of the shaman, which is all about rhythm, voice, and pacing, and cadence, and whatever, to take people through into an altered state.
Like a trancey thing?
Yeah, it's the precursor of hypnotherapy. Trained in Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbs, Chinese massage, energy healing, and all the rest of that. Combination of all these skills were more than adequate to qualify me as a Barefoot Doctor, and the reason it was Barefoot Doctor is because I used to always work barefoot when I gave people treatments. I used to have a practice in London for about 17 years. I stopped 10 years ago. Typically I got too busy, but I always work barefoot. One, because you can jump on the table and press people's backs if you have to, like a monkey, so you can always keep your body balanced. Two, because if you're walking around in trainers all day, standing there, it's very hot and sweaty on the feet, and it's just not comfortable and not aesthetic. It was also, in China, it was a sign of humility and respect for the other if you were barefoot. So I needed a new name for my band. It was about 1989.
Your band?
My band, yeah. And I was treating a rock critic at the time, in a particular moment. And I was going through the names of bands I was thinking, and one of them was, because I work barefoot, I was thinking the Barefoot Doctor. And he said, call it just Barefoot Doctor, because then the press will call you the Barefoot Doctor, and it's cool. And that's how it was agreed. And the band, I've had various formats of bands and musical offerings anyway, but because of the music, was writing a column in a music magazine, which I wrote as Barefoot Doctor, and it was a very popular column which led to me getting a book deal, and so the name spread to all kinds of areas and it became like a brand. Not intentionally, it was meant to be a band, it became a brand. There was this art just dropped in from the kind of people who come to me. I guess you'd have to say they were human, because it's like there's no common denominator other than they're human. And
so all kinds of people?
Yeah, everybody.
And the issues?
Everything. But I think most issues boil down to low self-esteem, lack of confidence, lack of faith in the self, an inability to appreciate the joy of being alive, a faulty filter over the way they're perceiving reality, causing self-limitation, and I think that would, and fundamentally a habit of tensing everything against life, resisting or saying no to everything, which translates all the way through to the fascia and the organs. The whole body is in a state of contraction. And what I teach, the Taoist way, is very similar to the yogic thing. It's just that you do all the work in the body. The body's your laboratory, your arena, your temple, and your nightclub. and you do everything within the body to release the mind. So you look to where the mind is causing the body to tense, and you work to undo it. There's a set of very simple principles about posture, about how to breathe, about how to hold the mind inside the brain, like where literally you position your consciousness.
What do you mean by hold the mind inside the brain?
The Taoist secret is that you bring your focal point, the point from which you're watching the world, backwards from the eyeballs into the centre of the brain. It's like, do you know the game of squash or racquetball? The only way you can possibly win a game of squash is if you hog the centre court, if you stay in the centre of the court, because then you can reach all corners without running too far. If you're in the centre, the other person can't be, and you will always win that game. And it's exactly the same with the mind. The mind has all these disparate aspects to it, all the various voices kind of vying with each other, the different desires, the shoulds, the coulds, the woulds, and all the rest of it. When you're in the centre of your brain, you preside over all of it, and you're in a state of clarity. The mind's still. The dialogue in the forebrain continues constantly, but it's no longer distracting you. So rather than seeing the world through your filter of it's like this or it's like that, you're just seeing it. And yes, the body reacts, I don't like this, I do like that, but you're able to observe it doing that. The Taoist idea is that you transcend preferences. Nothing's necessary.
You transcend
Preferences. You rise above preferring this over that. So if some pile of shit comes down the line, you welcome it as much as you welcome a pile of gold, because both of it is food for growth.
Okay.
And you understand through the principle of the yin and the yang that what appears as a pile of shit is actually going to be a pile of gold, and what appears as a pile of gold will actually end up being a pile of shit. That's how it works.
Okay.
So you don't attach too much to either. Yeah, the local self goes, ooh, pile of gold, fantastic, or ooh, a pile of shit. Of course it does, and you observe it, you have compassion for that. But nonetheless, you welcome both as all being the Tao. It's all food for growing with. So it's about observing the local self going, ooh, 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 and resisting and feeling the pain and the discomfort, embarrassment, shame, fear, and all the rest of it. But you are not identifying with that.
How do I learn this?
Well, I teach it through online courses, which are video courses that it's like you're with me in the room, or actually in the forest, because we're there. And I take you through the process, and you do one lesson every day. So I call it School for Warriors. School for Warriors #1, it's the principles of personal power. You do a video every day, you do the exercise, and over a period of 8 weeks, you go through the transformation. And it's slow enough, although it's only 6 minutes a day, because I don't think people have time for much more. It's slow enough over that period to go through the process. It resets you at the subconscious level. And then I go on to teach you about how to produce and focus your energy, and then it goes on from there.
This new musical format, let's say, what you have created. What's that about?
It's not that new, it's for 25 years since I've been working on this. I wish it was new, it would be really like, wow, that would have been clever to come up with that fast. But it's basically, as a musician, I create beats. I mean, I've gone through many kinds of genres of music, but in the last 10 years or whatever, it's been, modern house beats, because I like that music. So I create a beat, and then I'll just ad-lib, improvise.
Okay.
A hypnotic, mesmerizing, relaxing rap, using all sorts of hypnotherapeutic techniques, such as repetition of words, or going into rhyme because it's that kind of time, or using polarity response, like I don't want you to do something completely different now, so that the mind picks up to do something completely different now, or working with the voice to create a gap, and in the gap, feel, so that sort of stuff, and setting it and working with or against the beat, and it's just something I developed over, it's actually been nearly 30 years. It started with the Native Americans sitting in the powwows with the drumming. Right. And it's really kind of mesmerising, and that's where I got the idea for it from originally.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.